Good evening and welcome to the live coverage of the United States Sprint Cup here live from Simply Race. Today you'll be watching 15 sim racers battle it out on the Mid-Ohio circuit in USF 2000 cars. We'll be doing a 45-minute race complete with fuel and tyre wear, and as the drivers will battle it out with their strategies and their on-track action, we'll be covering the entire thing live here on the Simply Race YouTube and Facebook channels. But first of all, here's what happened last time out.
Round 2 of the USSC Championship here at Simply Race, so the lights will wait for the lights to go green to see the marshal waving the flag, and it's a great start from the 130 Racing Boys. I think Jack Ashton has in fact got a bit of a nose on Mark Winwood as they go into
all four wide,
very close. Harold has moved up in second place. They all braking for turn 1. There's a lot of bunching in the middle pack, and one car's been turned around. Oh no, it's Mark Winwood in fact, our race, our pole sitter has gone off along with the DJM racing car. Jack Ashton is he's checked out a tiny bit. He's got an 8/10 gap at the moment, which isn't quite enough to break the toe, but these boys will be trying very hard to cling on to the back of him. A great start from Matt Scott into third place now from 6th on the grid. He managed to avoid all the carnage of turn 1. I did see cars go about 4 wide through turn 1, which is quite interesting as well. This is the replay of turn 1, so this is actually watching Mark Winwood, I believe, just getting a tap as all the cars squeeze together. We got Matt Scott on the inside there with, I believe that's Dave Hedges, just getting at pretty much level now as the air resistance get the better of them. And very, very close to the back, but fair play to both them drivers, giving each other absolutely just enough room to get by. But a fantastic move from Chris Hardwick.
Ashton's in the pits as well.
Yes, he is. So he's dropped down to third place. So
that's why I was getting a bit the timing bar was getting a bit confused.
So these boys going really deep into their stint, in fact. So Sean King and Matt Scott. Sean King now leading this race. He'll be happy with that. And when he'll be watching this race back probably this evening when they get home. So Matt Scott very, very close to the back of Sean King now, actually goes out wide, but Matt Scott taking over that first place, in fact, inherently. But Sean King was very, very slow off that turn 3, so I don't know if he's, hopefully he hasn't run out of fuel. He's actually run out of fuel, I think, and there he is, in fact, so rolling, trying to get into the pit lane, and we'll try and get him back into the pit lane. I don't think he's going to make it, but unfortunately for Sean King, just ran out of fuel. So we see Jack Ashton going very wide out of turn 1, so that's going to cost him. Chris Hardwick's going to look to try and take the inside into turn 3, and Chris Hardwick gets the car stopped, try and drifts Jack Ashton out wide. Very nice and clean racing from these two boys, and Chris Hardwick inherits the lead of the race now. It's Chris Hardwick takes the flag, so it's glad we just picked that up at the end there. So well done to Chris Hardwick taking the win at NOLA Motorsport Park, with Jack Ashton in second place, 4 seconds behind him. Matt Scott now will wait to come through to earn a well-deserved third place after a strong battle with Sean King, who unfortunately ran out of fuel, and Harold earlier on. So well done Matt Scott, he'll be very happy with that. Good points on the board for Cam Sport. We can just see Mark Winwood coming home in 4th position.
So that is what happened last time we watched the United States Sprint Cup. I'm joined by Callum Cripps, who will be taking us along for the ride today at Mid-Ohio. We're just finishing the practice session. The drivers have got a 15-minute practice session. They're finishing up on that now. Oh, there you go, they've just been returned back to the pit lane. Stuart Goff was our fastest driver, 122.442, but only just pipping Josh Bamwell at 122.484. So quite close lap times there, and actually I didn't see Stuart do a huge amount of practice. Maybe he did it when I wasn't in the venue, but some really good lap times from him.
Yeah, very impressive. 122s is around the pace where we're going to be looking at. 121s also possible. I think that we did from testing wise, I think around 123 is going to be race pace, but for now we're going to see some very fast lap times because it's qualifying time. So every driver gets 1 qualifying lap shootout, so all the drivers will be on the circuit on their own. Everybody will be doing their lap at exactly the same time. However, they'll have a free track in which to set that lap time, so they don't get held up by any other drivers slowing down or warming up their tyres. So this is a time for qualifying. It's going to be very interesting to see who makes that top spot. It's very important actually, this pole position, because it's a very demanding circuit and a very tricky track to overtake. We're going to see a lot of undercuts and overlays, as we can see Stuart Goff at the moment just beginning his lap.
Well, I think we're going to stick with Stuart for qualifying, just because he was the quickest driver in practice, so all the pressure's on him, I guess. But the only thing that isn't on pressure for him is that he did miss the last round, so he's actually not fighting really
for the
for
championship. Yeah, so it's just for pride really, and
it is, yeah. And
seeing how well he does against these guys that have been running in championship all season. So obviously Stuart races a bit himself in the mini challenge, so he's a very experienced young.
I think he's racing Formula Ford this year.
He is. He raced in mini challenge last year,
which is a really great preparation for him to do this kind of.
Yeah, so he's raced in Formula Ford before, which is quite similar in terms of these cars. So really he knows the physical aspect as well as the sim racing aspect of it. But these guys are actually coming around the last few corners now to begin their lap, so that you'll see the times start to come through. Anyone who is fastest will go straight to the top on the overlay that we have just above the screen.
We'll try and keep you up to date with sector times if we can, as we go around as well.
So
if you do want to see, I can
probably tell you who's going to come around first, because I've got a live race.
Oh, you can see, yeah.
Live
So
races
what I was going
overlay.
to try and share, Callum, is the link if anyone wants to follow the live timing at home.
Absolutely.
If you go to simplyrace.liveracers.com, so that's simplyrace.liveracers.com, you can see the track and you can see all of the sector times that we can see as well whilst we're commentating. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just watching everybody kind of come through now. I think Stuart is around third on the road, or a bit further back. We've got Josh Bamwell actually, who's going to be the first one to set a lap time. Well, bearing in mind that he keeps it on the road, because we did see last time a few drivers that really wanted to be up there, and they threw it off in qualifying.
So sector 1 was purple for Sean King. Sean King was performing very well in practice.
Mark Winwood's purple at the moment in sector 2, but has been taken by Jack Ashton. Yeah. So we'll keep you updated on the gaps as they come through the third sector and complete the lap.
It's very close at the moment from what I can see. So Josh is the first person to click.
Yeah, Mark Winwood goes with a 1:22.1, which is pretty good lap time at the moment. Hardwick now goes fastest, 1:21.8, so it's Hardwick. Harold pops in a 1:22.000 with Stuart Goff coming home in third, qualifying in third with a 1:22.08.
Yeah, we've got just just one
now,
just Dave Hedges.
It's very close in the mid pack as well.
Absolutely.
So there we go then, that's the grid for the race this evening. So we've got Hardwick on pole for 1:30 racing, Harold in second, Stuart Goff in third, Mark Winwood in fourth, Michael Balding in fifth, Josh Bamwell in sixth, Jack Ashton in seventh, Sean King will line up in eighth, Dave Hedges in ninth for the DM Racing, Malhano in 10th, Matt Goodger-Scott will line up in 11th, Stuart Goff in 12th, Colin Talbot in 13th, Erwin Klumpers in 14th, and David Eccles in 15th.
Thanks for bearing with us then. We were just waiting for some of the drivers to refresh themselves before the start of the race. You can see a lot of the drivers just gathering around, getting themselves race ready, whilst Anthony Jordan gives a final race brief ahead of our 45-minute race. You can see one of them is just outside. It's Colin Talbot. He'll go past your camera in a second. So what's your expectations ahead of the race then, Callum?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. We expected to see Stuart Goff, especially in practice. He was right up there, so I don't think he's going to be one to let the boys get away. I think he's going to be right up the front. Really impressed by Harold there. His lap time was absolutely fantastic, so it's going to be very interesting to see how he gets on.
I think he was mid-pack in the practice session, but really managed to pull it out the bag in qualifying.
Brilliant lap.
Qualifying is a really tough art, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But then again, it's not all hope all lost at the start of the race. There's a really long straight after turn 2, and it's about a kilometre long. It's really going to show the drivers, because they're going to be heading up to around 145 miles an hour, and the tow really affects these cars as they do with Formula cars because of the aero. So it's going to be very interesting to see who can get the best tow down into turn 3, and it's a great corner to try and make a lunge as well. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting. Jack Ashton's down in 7th as well, which is going to be very interesting to see how he gets on. He's definitely a guy to watch. He's going to be very, very quick out the bat.
So just to explain the start procedure, the drivers will start on the grid, but then they will do a complete rolling lap behind the safety car. And we know that the safety car moves quite fast around mid-Ohio. So hopefully the drivers got the wits about them, because they're going to have to travel 2 by 2 at almost breakneck speed, and then they'll come out the final corner and they will have to wait until they get the green green flag. There you go. You can see the drivers just testing, make sure they're nice and comfortable with the way the steering wheel is set up in their pedals position as well. And very shortly we'll cut to the actual track action. If you're following us live on Facebook and YouTube today, please do feel free to get involved. We're monitoring both of the Simply Race and Facebook and YouTube channels. So if you do have any questions, comments, please get involved. We would love to read them out live on air. So yeah, please
get involved.
And get involved in the live stream. You can see already, whilst we go through this pace lap, there's a lot of Harold fans, Francis Harold fans. Harold. I think there's a lot of the Pink Panther team, big fans of Francis Harold. So keep
definitely qualifying P2.
Supporting him.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys get on coming down into turn 1. It's really quite a short run into turn 1, so we're not looking for those guys to be really towing down into turn 1, but especially after that turn
2 and turn 3.
Absolutely, there's plenty of time to really get the hammer down and get behind someone. This is into the sector 2, which is a very twisty and technical part of the circuit. It's very undulating as well, which we didn't have last time out. To round 2, it was quite a flat circuit, wasn't it? Whereas this one's completely different. So it's going to be very interesting to see how people can use the undulation to really manage their fuel as well, because obviously
because you did a stint earlier and you really mentioned there's places where you can save a lot of fuel.
Absolutely, especially through some corners where you should be second or so, you can actually dip up into third.
Okay, so as we enter the final few corners then, we are just about ready to start this 45-minute race here live at Simply Race. Pace car is in the pits. The front 2 slow everyone all the way down. They're going to wait for the green flag.
Stuart Goff
Stuart Goff is very, very keen, and here we go. So Stuart Goff really pushing the car of Chris Hardwick on the outside lane there. And Chris Hardwick's got to be careful.
There's contact.
There's contact on the inside.
That's Mark Winwood.
Yeah,
and who's going off there? I think that's Dave Head.
Stuart Goff.
Yeah, and he's tagged one of the Camsport cars. That's Colin Talbot. So they've all dropped down, along with Eccles. So unfortunately for those guys, they've been muscled out at turn 1. But as everybody comes through quite cleanly into turn 2 and down the long straight, it's still Chris Hardwick that leads from Harold and Boulding, who's made up a few places thanks to that collision. Bamwell's now in 4th with Sean King in 5th and Mark Winwood in 6th place, so he hasn't lost too much time from that, but still he was a big oversteer moment for him that caught him I think by surprise, as Stuart Goff just squeezed him to the apex.
Yeah, Stuart just came in a bit too close. There was the windward on the inside.
Yeah, with the inside curb, you can't go over it in these cars.
The real shame is from Colin Talbot, who was completely innocent. He
just
hasn't
got
lost
caught up.
too much time. This is 12 seconds down. It's a long race, so hopefully we'll see him a bit closer up the field later in the race.
Yeah, so as these guys come through, completing Sector 2 into Sector 3 now, there's very twisty section. Not a lot of corners, but this long right-hander that you have to dip down into first gear, get it absolutely perfect, and then slingshot your way out onto the main straight again. It's very, very technical and really grains that front left tyre, and that's the main tyre that these boys are going to be rubbering into this circuit and really losing a lot of deg over the course of the race. Obviously, these guys, I don't think no one's going to change tyres because, I don't think anybody's going to change tyres because it just costs too much time, doesn't it? So, but we're expecting the drivers to put around 10 to 12 litres into the car come the pit stop phase, which will be around just after halfway through the race. As we can see, this is Matt Goodger-Scott now on the back of Stuart Goff, who had that unfortunate tangle earlier on. He's looking to make up some place. This is for 8th place as well, but it's Ian Goff, my apologies. Ian Goff looking to make a move on Malhano with Matt Goodger-Scott just behind him. So this brilliant battle for 7th, and they're not that far away from Dave Hedges in 6th in that DM racing car as well. So those boys just coming through Sector 2 now, very tight and twisty section, a very Cadwell Park-esque part of the circuit.
What was the first thing you said to me today when you looked at the track?
Looks like Cadwell.
Very much. Oh, there's an accident. Oh,
that was very close indeed.
I think that was between
Stuart Goff and Mark Winwood, yeah. So those two, they've got to keep away from each other. They're like a magnet at the moment. But as they come through, and Stuart Goff is looking to get back onto the back of Matt Goodger-Scott. He made up a lot of time through that last corner. It's incredible. As they come round to complete lap number 2 onto lap number 3, Chris Hardwick still leads by Harold at 1.1 seconds. Harold's not letting him get away at all. But for the moment, this battle is, I think, the one that we want to be watching. Is they come down through the first straight after turn 1 into turn 2. You can just see the guys heavy onto the brakes, around 130 miles an hour. And you can see Stuart Goff very, very close. And really, you've got to be careful when you're Stuart Goff, because you've got your, is it his brother or I believe, or is it, no, they're just not related at all, they're just the same name.
No, I think they're related, I'm not sure what the relation is, but...
No, but Ian Goff, just ahead of Matt Goodger-Scott, and they're all, and Stuart Goff's making a move to the inside of Matt Goodger-Scott, and they tangle again, and there's loads of cars going off there, so we had Malhano go off, we had, I believe, Clumpers went off as well there. We'll have to have a look. Ian Goff certainly went off. So it's Ian Goff and Malhano both went off together. And then Matt Goodger-Scott and Stuart Goff both tangling. And very, very unfortunate. But these two seem to get away with it. Okay, so Matt Goodger-Scott, even though he got hit by Stuart Goff, actually moved up a place there. And is now up in 7th place. So he'll be looking to make some ground on Dave Hedges now that is... Well, that fortunate incident that's happened for him. And those guys, unfortunately, moving... Well, Malhano's moved all the way back to 14th place. So that's really put a dent in his race. So these guys are a bit more spread out now. We've got the mid-pack all nicely spread out at the moment. It's still quite close between Michael Balding and Josh Bamwell in 3rd and 4th. But Matt Goodger-Scott making his way around turn 2 now. This is the long straight that we were talking about earlier. You can get up to around 145 miles an hour top end on these cars down the back straight. So Stuart Goff will be getting that now on the back of Matt Goodger-Scott. As they come into turn 3, Stuart's very close to making a move there, but thought better of it. And looks to make a move up the inside, but Matt Goodger-Scott uses his speed to just carry his car pretty much middle of the circuit around that corner, just keeping the aero working on that car. And then they'll get into 2nd gear up this right-hander, very undulating corner and circuit. So Chris Hardwick still leads for the moment. He's pulled out quite a gap actually to Harold on last lap time. It's a purple lap from Chris Hardwick last time by with a 121.8. So fastest lap of the race so far for the leader. And he seemed to have broken that toe from Harold, and he's starting to break away now. So looking good for the moment with Chris Hardwick and his championship defence from last season. As we watch these guys just come around now, so that was very close there. In fact, so that was Dave Hedges on the back of. Oh no, my apologies. Who's? Yeah, Harold. Oh, so this is battle for second place. In fact, so we can see Hardwick just going through the shot now. So this is very close indeed. Wow, we've got Harold, Boulding, and Bamwell all in a mix between each other. They don't want to get too tangled up. We've got Jack Ashton almost spun just on the back of these guys. So we're fixed at the moment on Josh Bamwell in that green machine, and then just behind him we've got Michael Boulding in the camo car. And as they make their way through the right-hander, Jack Ashton's got a great run of Michael Boulding coming out of that last corner. I can see if he can attack coming into the final sector now. It's very, very close indeed. And Jack Ashton's so close to the back of Michael Boulding through there. Well, I think these will be the boys to watch this time by. So we now switch cameras to Jack Ashton. He's going to be very, very close. He's got the purple roll hoop to identify himself out of the one of 3 130 racing cars as they come through turn 1 now onto lap 6. And he's going to have a great tow coming out of this first corner, bearing in mind that he gets a good run. So you can see they're all staying pretty much in each other's tow coming down into turn 2. Is he going to make a dive for it? No, he thinks better of it for the moment. It's a very difficult corner to try and go up the inside of someone there, as it's a very late apex as they come down towards turn 2. I think he's lost a bit of time there to Michael Boulding and has dropped back slightly, so I don't think he'll be able to challenge coming into turn 3. You can see Chris Hardwick now, our race leader, just coming into turn 3. He's got a nice 2.5 second gap over second place Harold, and Josh Bamwell, who's done well to move himself up into third place. All those boys had a fantastic fight last time out as well, so it's great to see everybody come back for another time and really get involved in the championship. Again through the twisty sector 2 now as we come on to another straight, and Jack Ashton certainly through sector 2 looks to be a bit stronger than Michael Boulding, but then in turn Michael Boulding looks quite strong compared to Josh Bamwell that time around. They're all taking slightly different lines through this last corner. Wow, Jack Ashton was really close on the back of Michael Boulding then. Coming on to lap 8 now, lap 7 in fact. So Michael Boulding went wide there coming out of the last corner, so Jack Ashton takes that place away from Michael Boulding. So Jack Ashton moves up into 4th place. A disappointing qualifying from Jack Ashton, but he's certainly making up for it at the moment. He's really pressing on, trying to catch the leader. And tries to make a move now, dives up the inside into turn 2, and very, very close indeed to Josh Bamwell's rear wheel. But now they've all bunched together, so it's going to have the concertina effect. Everybody's going to try and bunch her up. We've got Michael Boulding in 5th, but he's looking to try and take that 4th place back from Jack Ashton on the run down into turn 3. Let's see if anybody makes a move. Michael Boulding moves to the inside, but then Jack Ashton moves to defence, and that was a good defensive move there to keep Michael Boulding at bay.
Okay, sorry to have left you there, Callum. I'm back, and it looks like there's been quite a bit of epic action going on. Just been speaking to the race director, Anthony Jordan, about the penalties on the first couple of laps. So just to clarify, what I initially believed to be... Whoa! Who's that?
Well, apologies. I think that was Josh Bamwell's gone off the road, unfortunately. So Josh Bamwell's thrown his 3rd place away. He's down in 9th now. So sorry to cut you off there, Ben.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it seemed that almost Jack Ashton almost followed him as well. It seemed that Jack Ashton got on the grass trying to, well, just transfixed on Josh Bamwell going off. And unfortunately for him, he slipped all the way back down into 9th place. So all that work that Josh Bamwell did brilliantly fighting for his 3rd place, it's absolutely thrown it away, unfortunately for Josh. But
yeah, unfortunately
we'll go back to
for Bamwell there. And Stuart Goff's looking to make a move on the inside there of Dave Hedges, and makes it stick into turn number 2. Good move, and he's going to be able to hold the line as he exits. Now this is going to be a little bit under pressure towards turn 3. This is a big zone where you can get a very, very good slipstream in these cars, and Dave Hedges is going to be looking to make the most of it as they head into turn number 3. Yeah. Will he make a move, or is he going to play the long game?
No, he was just not close enough. A metre maybe more, and he would have been able to really commit to the move. But unfortunately, yeah, he just wasn't close enough that time around. It seemed that Stuart Goff just got a really good exit out of turn 1, was able to pass him pretty much without any toe at all on the inside and was able to pull away into turn 2. So yeah, nice move there by Stuart Goff. But yeah, anyway, back to the point you were making.
Right. So on the first few laps,
sorry, we got so much action.
What I initially thought to be as being Stuart Goff's fault actually ended up with being Mark Winwood from the angle that we saw. It looked very like Stuart Goff had turned in on the other driver, but actually Mark was quite far back when he put his car up the inside of turn number 1. So he will be receiving a drive-through penalty from our race director Anthony Jordan. And the second penalty to go out will be for Ian Goff, which was when we had all those 4 cars together and we had two go off. Ian had a very sort of maybe misses braking zone and had a bit of contact with the back of, I think it was Malhano's car from memory. It was a yellow car. So he will also receive a drive-through penalty. Those are the 2 penalties that have been issued so far.
Okay, thanks for that update then, Ben. So Chris Hardwick has really extended his lead out to 4 seconds over Harold at the moment, so he's really pulling away in that 130 racing car. Jack Ashton has made a great start from 8th place he was on the after qualifying, so he's moved himself up 5 places into 3rd place, so he's really showing his turn of pace now, and we can see a move being made. That's very, very close indeed, and actually managed to save that round the outside, so that was a great move there, and very, very close indeed.
Hardwick's looking, I know this is a very close battle going on actually, I might have to go back to that, but Hardwick looking very, very good out front, now 5 seconds ahead of Harold. Very commanding lead at this point in the race. We're only 13 laps in. We might start seeing,
see Sean King, wow, that was very close, trying to make a move on Clumpers there. It was very, very close indeed. He was trying all sorts of different lines, just trying to straight line the corner, trying to get past him, but didn't really work in the end. So Sean King is having a fantastic battle with Clumpers at the moment. We'll try and keep on with this. This is for 9th place. So Sean King moves to the inside of turn 1. Very, very quick corner in 3rd gear, doing about 100 miles an hour through that corner. Very fast indeed. And those guys coming now into turn 2. They're side by side. Let's see, Clumpers has got the inside line, but it's going to be very, very close. They get to the braking zone. Clumpers just manages to squeeze him out there. Tiny bit late on the brakes.
Maybe Sean King would get the cutback, but he's not able to do so.
Yeah, he should be able to get a good toe now. He's got a long run of about 10 to 15 seconds on the throttle, so he should be able to close right up into Clumpers now as he goes trying to look to the inside potentially. He'll move out to the inside. There he goes. Really late on the brakes. Clumpers just seems so confident on the brakes. He isn't able to overtake him.
If you were Sean King right now, you're probably starting to get a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, his tyres will also starting to overheat a tiny bit. He'll be stuck in the dirty air of Clumpers' car, and it just won't be able to really make any headway as they come through sector 2 now up the right-hander. Very, very difficult corner. It seems to open out after the apex, and then into sector 3. A left-hander taken in 3rd gear or 2nd gear. Really, you can take the corner. Oh, there was actually a bump from Sean King there coming into the last corner. I heard a
sorry in the background as well.
So he was able to apologise, but you can see, I think that's Mark Winwood after, has he served his penalty? I believe he has.
Not sure on that one. Let's check with the race control. Ooh.
Wow, that was a great, that was a very late defensive move from Clumpers there. I don't think he's very happy about Sean King hitting him up the back. Coming into the penultimate corner, but that's given the opportunity to Mark Winwood to try and get up the inside of Sean King now. So who's going to be the last of the late breakers? It's going to be Mark Winwood, it seems. And Clumpers actually goes a tiny bit wide himself, so Mark Winwood might be able to capitalise here. Wow, that was very close, but not enough for Mark Winwood to get past. Now they're going to be down the main straight, and we've got a battle for, I believe this is 2nd place, I believe, or 3rd place.
So it's Harold, Ashton and Balding. So
yes,
second,
it is.
3rd and 4th.
2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Big close between.
Yeah, so
Ashton
Harold's just ahead there in that in that silver car.
Right. So just hearing from our producer that Harold's made a bit of a mistake, which is why he's dropped into the path of Ashton and Balding, and this is going to end up being quite a tasty battle for 2 of the podium positions. Hardwick still 6 seconds down the road.
Absolutely.
You can see we're now 15 minutes into the race, so 1/3 down, and almost certainly we're going to start seeing some cars thinking about getting out the way of some traffic and pitting
early.
The only problem with that is you're then carrying a little bit more weight, and that then in turn will harm your tyres as well. So it's a bit of a juggling act for our drivers. However, another strong performance from our 130 Racing guys at the top, Hardwick and Ashton, and they are our top 130 Racing. In fact, we miss it. Winwood is the only 130 Racing driver that's dropped down, and that was due to some contact, wasn't it, early on. And Balding biding his time, to be honest, quite close, and so is Ashton. They're not rushing in to make any rash moves at this point in the race.
I think they're all thinking with their head and making sure that they don't burn out their tyres too much. See, Sean King and Clumpers are still these guys still going at it. So Sean King is still trying to find a way past. And Mark Winwood has actually dropped back off the back of these two, so he was in between them. So he's obviously had some excursion somewhere.
It's great to see battling all the way down the order. We've got a battle for the two of the podium positions. We've also got this amazing battle for 9th, 10th and 11th, which is amazing.
So Sean King again, he seems quicker mid-corner, but then coming out, it's just, oh wow, there's a big wobble there from Clumpus, and that's allowed Sean King to just keep onto the back of him coming into set 3. We've got Mark Winwood trying to look to the inside of Sean King, but doesn't manage to do anything. And coming into the final few corners now, actually this is for second place, so we've got Jack Ashton alongside Harold coming into turn 2, I believe.
Is he going to leave himself exposed to...
Oh, very, very close indeed. He's going to have a fantastic run, though, coming into turn 3. He'll be right on the back. Harold has to go defensive coming into turn 3.
Almost couldn't be any closer without knocking off his front
Absolutely,
wing.
he's going to be absolutely on the back of him now. There'll just be inches between him. He pulls out to the right-hand side, the left-hand side.
Yeah, he's going to try and get around the outside, maybe.
No, but trying around the outside. They actually made contact, and well, Jack Ashton
will have a look
through.
at that back again, but
it was so close to call. They were side by side, to be fair. Jack Ashton just took a deep breath and slung it up the outside to try and hope that Harold wouldn't run wide, and really it was.
And behind Stuart Goff is now involved as well. And Stuart Goff is really putting.
So Michael Balding's actually moved up to third place. So
is that Stuart Goff now in front?
Yes.
As well?
So Harold's moved back. He's gone from second to fifth in a matter of a few corners. So it just shows you. If one bit can upset your rhythm, then you can drop a whole load of places. And now there's a fantastic battle though. It's real. You couldn't really get much closer than that. They were banging side by side on the wheels. It was lucky that their wheels didn't interlock. Otherwise, there could have been a much bigger accident. But thankfully, those guys just touched evenly on the wheels and was able to get away with it. But I think now that. Well, hopefully we can see a response from Harold.
Down the straight to try and break the toe.
Yeah, so Jack Ashton's desperate to try and break the toe off Michael Balding. But Stuart Goff, he's on a recovery drive as well. He's very fast.
He's really looking quite racy at this point.
At the moment,
he had a bit of a not the best start with a big contact with Winwood, and he was incredibly fast in practice and qualifying. We're going to see a recovery drive, and he's already in 4th. I'm looking forward to making a move on the top. Podium places. We haven't spoken about Hardwick for a while, but he's still plugging away. Lap 14, 7 seconds ahead of Jack Ashton.
He's checked out a bit. Thanks to all these guys battling as well. It's just allowed Hardwick he's got a lovely breathing space after 20 minutes of racing. To be 7 seconds ahead. We don't have to see that as we see. So that was. Well, that was very, very close indeed. So we're back for the battle for 8th place. Well, 7th place, in fact. So it's Mark Winwood, Josh Banwell and Clumpers all together. And Mark Winwood has finally got through past Josh Banwell and Clumpers as they go through Sector 2 now. And that was a nice little battle we got to saw there. So that was Mark Winwood making the move up to 7th place on his recovery drive after having a accident at turn 1 and then a drive-through penalty. So, and unfortunately for Banwell as well, was up there in that final podium place for a while, and then he dropped back after a spin. So we're now back with the podium battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And these guys are starting to break away from Harold a tiny bit. He won't be able to get the toe that far back. And unfortunately, it seems like his defensive driving didn't really help him out too much. These guys are now able to break away. But it seems this battle is going to be amazing until the end of the race. I can just tell Jack Ashton, Michael Balding and Stuart Goff, all very experienced sim racers. And Jack Ashton and Stuart Goff also race, well, in reality, Jack Ashton in the MJ Metro Cup, and Stuart Goff, as we mentioned earlier, in Formula Ford. So as they come through, coming into sector 2, well, sector 3 even now. So Stuart Goff really close onto the back of Michael Balding, and Michael Balding seems to have dropped off a tiny bit from Jack Ashton. He won't get as strong a toe as Stuart Goff will, but Stuart Goff is taking the similar line to what I was doing earlier, which is kind of go really quite deeper into the corner, blip down into first gear, get the car rotated, and then get on the power.
So just hearing from Darren, our producer, that Colin Talbot. Oh no,
see Jack Ashton going wide out of turn 1. It's luckily I don't think he lost too much time, but
for the guys a bit of a
so they go 3 wide into turn 2. It's going to be very close to Stuart Goff on the outside. And he's going to try and cut
get
back
around the outside. That's worked out better for Stuart Goff than it has for Michael Balding.
Absolutely, but now they're going to be fighting each other to try and get Jack Ashton's toe, and it's going to go in favour of Stuart Goff. No, it doesn't.
Maybe
really.
Not.
They're all fighting against each other. They're side by side. Stuart Goff onto the inside of Michael Balding, and he makes that move for 3rd place. But Michael Balding hanging it round the outside. He's onto the grass, and very lucky he didn't actually make that worse for himself and spin out, but unlocked the steering and got the car straight. So a good save there from Michael Balding. It could have been a lot worse than what it was.
So I think with Jack going a little bit wide, it meant that Michael Balding sort of checked out the throttle slightly, and that gave Stuart
Goff, he saw an opportunity.
Absolutely.
As you see, this is battle Banwell and Clumpers again. These guys still fighting for 8th place. It's fantastic. We got battles all over the place. As they come through the sector 2 now, where the very undulating part of the circuit.
I'm trying to check who's pitted, and I think so far we've had. Hang on, I've got this data here. Eccles has pitted, Talbot's pitted, Ian Goff has pitted, King has pitted, and Hedges have pitted. So the bottom 5 at the moment have all pitted. So you might see them then jump back up the standings later on in the race. We're actually halfway through already, which
so we've got
insane.
Stuart Goff now attacking Jack Ashton for 2nd place. Stuart Goff is on an absolute mission to try and hunt down and get 2nd, if not 1st. I think he'll be very well if he can get Chris Hardwick. It'll be very impressive. Obviously, we've still got the pit stop phase to come. So certainly Dan not out.
That was an aggressive move.
Very aggressive move, and Stuart Goff round to the inside. He switched to the inside very late on, but was confident that he was going to be able to check it out in the braking zone and just gets a wiggle on the exit. And that was very close.
Yeah, he almost made that happen. And
he did. That was a very good move.
I didn't expect that to happen at all.
No. But it's a well-known move in Formula Ford 1600, especially just to dive to the inside because the car's so the centre of gravity is so good. You're able to unbalance the car like that and get away with it. Very close indeed. So right on the back of Jack Ashton.
Goff making the most of his real-world Formula Ford experience in the USF Championship here live at Simply Race, and looking very racy indeed. These guys are batting over the 2nd and 3rd positions at the moment. Balding seems to have dropped off slightly. Has Harold as well. I don't know whether he maybe lost a bit of tyre when he.
I think he was helping him with the toe, but I think he had a tiny bit of a mistake on one of the laps and just dropped about half a second back, and that's all it takes to just break out of the toe. And with these guys towing each other down the straight, they can gain 2 or 3 tenths per lap. Obviously, with the battling as well, it kind of brings that lap time back down again. But we can see Stuart Goff still very close onto the back of Jack Ashton. He's going to move to the outside. He actually hits him on the way down into turn 3. So he tries to round the outside. Let's see if he can do it. And left-hander into turn 4. They're going to be side by side coming up this left-hand corner, and they're going to be side to side again going through the right-hand corner. It's going to be Jack Ashton's time to have the line this time around. Very close to Stuart Goff around the outside of turn 5, and that was incredible move to take 2nd place off Jack Ashton. Incredible move.
What proper racing that was.
That was
amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. Each driver giving them just the racing space they needed, but absolutely no more. Fantastic respect from those 2 drivers, and using their real-world experience here at Simply Racing the Sims, and that was amazing. That was absolutely fantastic.
Inch perfect and inch
it was.
in every way.
The thing is, Stuart Goff lined that up 3 corners before, and he knew exactly what line to take and stuck to it. And Jack Ashton did all he could to defend, try and move around nearer the apex of the corner, but very impressive stuff from Stuart Goff there.
So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Jack Ashton can stick with Stuart Goff, as he's got a bit of head of wind at this point in the race. We do have a couple of back markers, and I know the race director Anthony will be trying to manage them. They'll have to stay on line and lift off and allow our race leaders to come past. Our race leaders are likely to start pitting in the next 5 minutes, I would have thought.
Yes,
So
they
we're going
will.
to start running out of fuel soon. We only started with 17 litres of fuel. Max capacity of the tank is 28 litres, remember, 27.5. And we're expecting to take about 10, 12 litres on to get us towards the end of the race. Do you remember how many litres it was for one lap?
It was, I when we did the test earlier, I did 0.79 I came across with.
Okay, most people do about 0.82, so Callum, you're very good on fuel.
Short
apparently.
shifting.
Short shifting.
Short shifting through sector 2, because it's so undulating and so flowing, you don't really need to keep on the power all of the time, so it was quite easy to just short shift up through one gear.
So this is, what battle is
this? This is Spamwell and
again
Clumpers still battling on. These guys are having a fantastic battle.
Jackson
so
pits apparently.
Yes, and Jack Ashton into the pit lane, so he's decided he's had enough of that battle with Stuart Goff. And also Chris Hardwick is into the pits as well, so Stuart Goff takes the lead of the race. And but still,
a little bit of an undercut.
Yeah, but Chris Hardwick had 9 seconds in hand when he came into the pit lane, so it's going to be very interesting that we still see this battle with Josh Bamwell and Clumpers. Josh Bamwell in that very dark green machine, with Clumpers in that grey and I think, is it purple? Yeah, I'd say that's purple. Pink.
Purple?
Yeah.
Okay, pink. Yeah,
it depends what kind of light, but
pink.
let's
It's
call
not
it pink.
purple.
Yeah. So, yeah, these guys midway through the Cadwell section of the circuit at Mid-Ohio. And, I love this track. I tried it for the first time today, and it's just fantastic. It's just this section. This section reminds me of the last bit at Kimbolton.
Okay.
Kart circuit. The middle bit reminds me of Cadwell.
Yeah.
And the first part.
I can see that. The last bit of Kimbolton.
You get me?
Yeah.
Josh Bamwell.
Bamwell. Oh, he holds in a straight line.
Oh, dear. He gives 110% all the time, does Bamwell, but he doesn't leave off.
There's no
any,
race management from
There's
Bamwell.
no 1% that he doesn't let off. He tries his hardest, and then he goes off, and then he tries again, and then he fights back. But it's great to see these two. They've been literally glued together for the last 20 minutes or so. Every time we've been cutting back to them.
So we got in the pits.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah, he's dropping down a second. Every time we check. So Matt Scott now takes the lead of the race. So
Matt Scott doing his classic thing of staying out as long as possible,
which works.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was only he finished second in the test race we had earlier. So really good strong pace from him. But we can see this is Jack Ashton with the purple hoop. Oh no, we've got a car spinning in the background. I think that was Eccles, unfortunately, who's now one lap down. But we've got a car coming out the pit lane, and is it going to be a challenge for position? Yeah, it's Michael Balding has jumped
ahead of Jack Ashton.
So he might have put in a bit less fuel. So Jack Ashton now will be seeing that and thinking, well, it's very interesting. Stuart Goff has actually pulled about 3 seconds on these guys.
Yes, he's further down the road, isn't he?
Yeah, a lot further down the road.
In lap and out lap, or he's not putting enough fuel in, and
or he's sped in the pit lane.
These cars,
it's very interesting. It's very important to mention. These cars do not have a pit lane speed limiter. So if they speed in the pit lane, which the limit is 50 mile an hour for the circuit, then even if it's a few mile an hour over, they will get a penalty for that, and it will be a drive-through. So they have to make sure that they don't get any penalties whatsoever.
So Goodger Scott's in from the lead of the race. You still see him in the timing bar as leader until Chris Hardwick comes across the line to retake the lead.
Yeah, and then we'll see the true gap between Stuart Goff and Chris Hardwick. But I imagine that Stuart Goff has taken some time out of Chris Hardwick, but just by trying to calculate the timings as they come down.
It's about 6 seconds, isn't it? Or 5-6 seconds?
I'd say it's around 5.5 to 6 seconds. Yeah, we'll have a look. But it was 9 when he came into the pit lane, so it's going to be very interesting. He's pulled 3 seconds away from these guys.
He said he's either sped or he's not put enough in, or he's just planned it to perfection.
Yeah,
and
we have to wait and see. We've got 15 minutes left as Jack Ashton has moved right onto the back of Michael Balding now as he exited the pits on his outlap. So
and there's Goodger Scott as well.
Yeah, so Goodger Scott actually
he's done really well there,
hasn't he? Incredibly well to catch up onto the back of these guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. Michael Balding trying to break the toe on Jack Ashton as they're coming
slightly
down.
Too many moves there
into turn 2, but he goes wide as a consequence, and lets Jack Ashton through into third place. So went wide there, and good thinking from Jack Ashton just to keep on his braking point, stick to the outside.
He scared him off then, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He kind of pressurised him into a mistake, but now Michael Balding's going to try and come back, but he's not close enough. coming down into turn 3, and then the technical section where it's very difficult to overtake, but we saw Stuart Goff have that brilliant overtake earlier on Jack Ashton. But Matt Goodge-Scott, I'm amazed that he's been able to catch up to the back of these guys.
That staying out a little bit longer definitely helped him, I think. And
I'm guessing running with the low fuel as well, he might be able to just get some really clean laps in while these guys were battling, and able to close right up. So he's actually really closing on the back of Michael Balding here. So we might be able to see Matt Goodge-Scott in that Cam Sport car get some good points on the board for the team championship as well. So very interesting to see as they come round to complete lap 23 for these guys. And maybe Matt Goodge-Scott is... I was just going to say looking after his tyres quite well, but not getting grass on them he won't be. But
at least he managed to keep it in a straight line. That's certainly a difficult thing to do. And we can tell on our other screen, you guys won't be able to see it at home, that Chris Harwood's currently in a lot of traffic, which is holding him up.
Down. And as we said, the gap at 5.3 seconds to Stuart Goff. So Stuart Goff has really taken that time down. So as these guys come up into... So that's... Wow, that was a very late move there. So very, very close indeed. As one of the 130 racing cars passes the Cam Sport car. Very, very close. So that was, that was Chris Hardwick lapping, I believe it was Colin Talbot. Yeah.
So obviously that is something that Stuart Goff's now going to have to go through probably relatively soon, next couple of laps as well. So
absolutely.
That might end up impeding him as well. But the gap is now under 5 seconds.
So Matt Goodge-Scott, you can tell his car because it says G Scott on the side of his car. As they come through. No, well, you can just about see it now. You'll be able to see it as he goes past the camera now. Just G Scott on the side. So I don't think he'll be able to fit in one of these cars in real life. He's so tall. He's so tall. I think his head would be over the roll bar. But
how tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
No.
Well. It depends. I'm not that bad. You're not that much taller than me, anyway.
Oh, I'm several inches taller. Anyway, moving on. So
Matt Goodge-Scott still dropped off a tiny bit onto Michael Balding there, but we've still got Harold and Clumpers. We can see 8th and 9th very close. So we're going to try and get those guys. This looks very tasty indeed. So we've got Sean King just passing Harold there as he went off the circuit on the last corner. So Sean King moves up and edges closer onto the back of Clumpers. This is for 8th, 9th and 10th places. So Clumpers in the pink and silver car just watching right now. And so it goes quite wide in turn 2, and that's going to play into the hands of Sean King in that green and black machine. Coming down into turn 3 now, so Sean King's he's definitely going to have the toe coming into turn 3. So we'll see if he can close enough onto the back of Clumpers into turn 3. Let's have a look. Let's see. He's going to try and dive to the inside. Sean's very, very confident on his brakes. He doesn't try it this time around. But we've seen these guys been glued together almost for pretty much, well, 3/4 of the race so far. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys get on in the last 11 minutes of this race. It's gone so quickly. It always seems to go fast.
Can't believe it. We're almost into the last 10 minutes already.
Yeah. So I think everybody is pitted now. So these are just genuine battles. No one would be able to go pretty much until 10 minutes until the end of the race without pitting. So these guys would have taken on 10 to 12 litres of fuel. So they'll be on still quite light fuel, but very, very worn tyres. Now these tyres will be getting down towards the 30% rubber and won't be as fast as they were before. Sean King actually got up onto the curb on that penultimate corner and really slowed himself up there and allowed Harold to just get right onto the back of him. Harold's actually on the inside down into turn 1, so let's see if Harold can make the move. And as they come out, Harold is ahead of Sean King, so that was a great move there on the inside of turn 1. So he really saw an opportunity as Sean King got stuck on that curb and was able to just capitalise on that. But yeah, fantastic move there from Harold, and he's now in hot pursuit of Clumpers, and this is the team standards that we can just see here. So just quickly, so this is after moment.
This is not on their screen. This is just ours.
Okay. So apologies for that. I was just reading out the individual team standings at the moment. So at the moment we've got Dave Hedges who's actually leading the championship for DM Racing in first, with Chris Hardwick, who's in sixth at the moment, with Chris Hardwick, who's our race leader, in second. So Chris Hardwick will jump Dave Hedges in the championship for first place, and it's going to be very interesting to see, with only a few rounds left to go.
One round
left to go, yeah.
Final round.
Absolutely, as we see this battle still continuing on with these guys. These guys are having a great fight with Clumpers and Harold. So Clumpers goes very deep into that penultimate corner, but able to get back to the apex, very late apex on that corner, and slingshot himself out onto the pitch straight. But still, Harold's very, very fighty indeed in this latter stages of the race. Harold.
So it's Harold attacking Clumpers rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's bless
My
him.
apologies.
He's ill today. So
it's very late on the break from Clumpers there. It was really, really late. But Harold getting a very, very good toe off the back of Clumpers. Now coming into turn 3, it's going to be very close for these guys. So Harold's going to try and move to the inside, but Clumpers holding his defensive line well. Harold moves to the outside. He goes all the way around the outside in the braking zone. That's an incredible move there. So well done from Harold. That was incredible. Moving around the outside of Clumpers into the braking zone, braking a few bits later. He goes wide on the exit of the corner though, and that's going to play into the hands of Clumpers, but he seems to get wide onto that corner, and Sean King is now looking to make the move on Clumpers. But very, very close indeed on these guys. But yeah, fantastic racing. That was an insane move into turn 3 by Harold. He was able to make the move, and he's still 7 seconds back on Mark Winwood, so I don't think he'll be moving up any more places, unfortunately. But still goes very, very deep into that penultimate corner and able to get the car stopped and rotated down into first gear, and then accelerating out through that flat out final corner, and then down into turn 1 again. So these guys will be really trying to manage their tyres as well as battle other people. It's a very, very difficult mix, and does definitely takes a few meetings to really perfect and get right. But you can see the gap actually. I was just looking at the gaps. Chris Hardwick has pulled the gap out slightly from Stuart Goff, so
he did have the benefit of many laps in the lead, no traffic, no fighting, no overtaking. So I think he's probably looked after his tyres really, really well, and that's really going to help him out in the last few stages of the race. And there was a battle just off camera. I don't know if they ended up in contact. It looked like it did, and that is Harold trying to get past a back marker, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think the blue car's Eccles it just goes off the road there, unfortunately. Well, they're kind of lucky for these guys, yeah, just to get out of the way. But yeah, it was very close indeed there. He really needed to get out of the way a bit sooner. Actually, there was a tap there from Sean King onto the back of Clumpers there, and Sean King actually slows down and lets him back through. He realises his mistake, so well done to Sean for realising that and letting Clumpers sort himself out and then get back on the power. But that's cost them both a heap of time, and has enabled Harold to get away quite considerably, about 3 seconds. So Sean King, wow, God, how did he not go off the circuit then? He was really late on the brakes.
so deep into that corner. Definitely thought he was gone. These curbs on the outside of that corner, they just drag you off, don't they, if you get one wheel on them? Yeah,
they really, you don't want to touch them whatsoever, because it can just, it's not worth the time gain compared to the time you can lose. You can lose even.
I've seen a couple of guys earlier on in the race kind of touch them slightly, and it just really impacts you.
Yeah, the car seems to sit on the barge board, which is right in the centre of the car if you get onto these curves, because they've got such a aggressive fall off. They don't have any kind of concrete after the curb, so really track limits here. You don't want to abuse them at all, because otherwise you can find yourself losing a heap of time. So
we're just about to hit 5 minutes to go. That's Chris Hardwick, who's our race leader.
He's completely on his own.
Turn 2.
Yep.
And then just in the background, that's where you can see Stuart Goff. It looked to me a second ago that Jack Ashton had gained a bit of time, but actually he's just dropped off again. And
so this is Jack Ashton now. He's kind of he did have Michael Balding.
No, was it? He's dropped a little bit back into Michael Balding's hands. But
yeah, he's still got quite a reasonable gap, around a second and a half to Michael Balding, so it still looks quite comfortable in that third place, but still anything can happen.
This is generally the point
we've got Sean King.
I start to wonder whether or not everyone's got enough fuel to last.
Absolutely, yeah. Which we have seen last time out. We had was Sean King, wasn't it, who just ran out of fuel.
Yeah.
And unable to make it to the end. He was very deep into the penultimate corner. Once again, you can see he's actually really understeering. He must put on an awful lot going through turn one. He was very understeering as well. So these guys will be really managing their tyres now. There'll be probably 20% rubber on the front left tyre. And the car will just be understeering through every single corner. You can see the lap times have dropped off quite considerably. So last time around, Chris Hardwick did a 1:23.6 compared to his best lap time of 1:21.8. So 1.8 seconds slower. In fact, his last lap time as he just came around was a 1:24. So 2.2 seconds slower than his his quickest lap time of this evening, which is also the quickest lap time of the race. Stuart Goff was actually 0.6 quicker than Chris Hardwick that last lap time around. As you can see, I think this is Stuart Goff just getting past Banwell. Yep, so Banwell in that green machine in 13th place. I wonder what happened to him. He must have had a nightmare pit stop or something. Oh, he span. He had a spin, I believe. So unfortunately for Banwell, he's the king of spins.
King of spins. He's super quick. King of spins, though.
King of spins this evening. And still, when he is battling, he gives us some good old entertainment to Banwell. So on and off the track.
What's happened to Goodgescott? Because Goodgescott was only a couple of seconds behind Balding.
Yeah,
and
he
now
was.
He's 22 seconds behind.
He was. He came out of the pits and he was really right in the mix with those guys. So unfortunate for
something happened off camera, I think.
For Matt, unfortunately, he's in a track of his own. Really, he's pretty much
got a bit of a gap to Hedges down in 6th place. So splitting the DM Racing guys. So I think I'll still be quite happy with the 5th place today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good points for the championship. Only we've got one round to go. This championship's gone through so quickly. Can't believe it. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the final round progresses in just under a month's time. So you can see Jack Ashton. Everybody's pretty spaced out now on the looking on the track map. But these guys definitely quite.
There's confirmation. Next race, 6th of May, Homestead Miami B race course, live from 7 o'clock again, or thereabouts, depending on how the practice is getting on. So do make sure
Homestead.
you join us for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event. Hopefully, we'll just get as much racing as we got in this round tonight. It's been crazy this round. I can't believe how many
I've seen
brilliant
45-minute races go really slowly. The last 2 rounds have just been completely non-stop in this championship, and it's been a pleasure to watch. We've got 1 minute 52 seconds left to go. I think this is Chris Hardwick, our race leader.
No, this is Jack Ashton.
Oh, this is Jack Ashton, is it? Okay,
yeah.
So let's try and work out where they are on the circuit. I don't know whether we're going to get.
So they're in sector 2 at the moment. So we'll get. Depending where Chris Hardwick is, I think we may be able to get another lap out. We'll see. If Chris Hardwick crosses the line with at least 1 minute 24 to go, which he will do. So we're going to have
2 laps.
Yeah, so he'll just cross the line around 4 seconds before the timer runs out.
That could be quite key for some people that maybe have underfueled. That extra lap that may not
very,
be
very key.
Could make
very
a huge
key.
difference. It could mean that some people run out of fuel. So we're really going to have to keep an eye on that. I know some people like to push it when it comes to fuel levels, and we'll see how that goes. We've actually got to the point of the race with 1 minute to go, where there's actually not too many close battles going on. Already close battles going on. But it's probably the first time in the race that we can actually say that's the case. We can watch Chris Hardwick on his couple of victory laps, making his way through turn 3, and we can just really appreciate the beauty of this mid-Ohio circuit, and as he uses the undulation to full effect, and it's really important to stay online as well through the S. Oh, they're on board now. There we go.
Yep. So we'll. This is very close actually to the back of the back mark. So I believe this is Eccles. He's just going to pass on the inside, and nicely done there. So just dips down into 3rd gear. You can use 2nd through there, but I believe he'll be fuel saving or something. Dips down into 1st gear, and this is the long right-hander that we're talking about that really hurts the front left.
He's going to get another one, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll definitely get one in, as long as he doesn't. Oh, I was very close to the curve there. So 4 seconds, like we said, just coming through turn 1 now. So we'll take him on a final lap through turn 1.
Brave man touching the curve on the inside of turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely, especially on the last lap.
Yeah.
But getting up now he'll get towards 128 miles an hour or so before stamping on the brakes. 129. into turn 2, a very long right-hander. As now comes onto the main straight, which is about a kilometre long. He'll get up to around 143 to 145 miles an hour coming down this really long straight. He's got a car up ahead of him. I think that's that's Malhano, who's in 12th place. Had quite a lonely race to Malhano, unfortunately, but still great to see him part of the championship. Up into turns 3 and 4, and very, very smooth on all the controls. You can see not putting in a lot of steering input, just being very, very smooth, very careful on the tyres. Quite a lot of understeer through the car now that the tyres have worn down quite a lot, but very smooth inputs. Drags it nicely out to the outside curb. So a quite dominant round 3 from Chris Hardwick, and this will retain his, up his to lead in the championship ahead of Dave Hedges. So Chris Hardwick, a commanding win, and just what he needs before going into the final round next month at Homestead, Miami. And as the other guys come through, Stuart Goff in 2nd place with Jack Ashton in 3rd. A great battle from those guys, with Michael Balding just off the podium in 4th. Matt Scott, a good showing from him in 5th. Unfortunately slipped down later on in the race, but was really up there with Stuart Goff and Jack Ashton and Michael Balding coming out of the pits. Mark Winwood will come home in 6th after having a nightmare start to this race, for having a drive-through and a collision at the start at turn 1. Harold in 7th, Clumpers in 8th, and Ian Goff in 9th. Sean King, after having a very difficult race, struggling with his brakes, I think, is Sean King in 10th place. Dave Hedges in 11th, Malhano in 12th. Josh Banwell started well, but unfortunately slipped down the order later on in the race in 13th. Colin Talbot unfortunately getting tangled up in the start and dropped down to 14th place, and David and Eccles finishing in 15th.
We're just going to give you a quick preview of what's to come very, very soon at Simply Race, the Simply Race British Championships. So we are very much looking forward to the Simply Race British Championships. Thank you very much for joining us live this evening for the United States Sprint Cup. Congratulations to our top 3, especially our race winner, Chris Hardwick, this evening, making the most of his clean getaway. Do join us for our next broadcast, which will be the 8th of April, the 12 hours of Road Atlanta in the Simply Race Endurance Series. Then it will be the 15th of April for the Simply Race British Championship. The next time you'll see us for the United States Sprint Cup will be the first Sunday of May. Thank you very much once again. Take care and see you again soon.